What's poppin', everyone? It's VenomousStare, back with more high-level StarCraft 2 action between two interesting players who are at DreamHack Austin. In the top left of the map Ascension to Ire, we have Neuro, the provider of the replays, and a truly great guy. You should really check out his stream because he streams frequently, reads chat, and does lots of insightful commentary. And if you're kind of wondering, well, like, what is this Neuro character like? You know, I'm considering checking him out, but what is his demeanor like? Well, I'll tell you, he's like a mixture of Mr. Miyagi and the guy from the couch on Half-Baked. And it appears as though he's going hatchery first, because he's at 17 supply, has his drone out here, and there it is. His opponent in the bottom right is a guy who was also at DreamHack Austin and did very well. This is GAMETIME, who's also going for hatchery first. Now this is ZvZ, so it's very common to see mirroring builds for a very long time. I've seen ZvZs, and TVTs for that matter, where the production tab will literally be identical for like the first 6 minutes. The thing is, in ZvZ, the Lings really make a difference because it's impossible to know exactly how many Lings your opponent is making at any given moment, so there's a lot of deviation between like, oh, 4 Lings versus 2 Lings, he's trying to get away with more drones, and then inevitably one person's trying to tech to Roach, if not both players. But they're mirroring builds up to this point, and this is standard stuff in ZvZ. You take your hatchery on 17, you take your gas and your pool quickly after. The first 100 gas goes into the Zergling speed upgrade, and I know this is very, very obvious to some, and this is kind of beating a dead horse for a lot of you veteran players, but for the newbies out there who sit there and don't even really know when to make the initial buildings or in what order, I like to touch on the basics. So both players are of course getting queens right when the hatchery finishes, which times out perfectly with when the pool finishes, and both players are getting Zergling speed, so mirroring builds up to this point. Showtime has 4 Lings out, or Showtime, GameTime. Showtime is a top tier German Protoss player. GameTime, well, he's good and he had a good showing at DreamHack Austin, but Showtime, the German Protoss, is the kind of player that can just decimate top tier Koreans. GameTime is getting a Baneling Nest. Showtime is also one of the 5 players, foreigners, who have over 7k MMR. Neuro clears off an Overlord, which is important because now he has a significant vision advantage. If we look at this guy, GameTime's vision, I keep wanting to call him Showtime now, essentially Neuro is going to be able to make big swells of Lings, and then he can run them across the map, and GameTime won't know until he's like halfway across, pretty much. Look at Neuro's vision. Neuro has an Overlord out here, he has one out here, and one in the middle. His vision's a little bit better. Notice GameTime just has these 2, and that's very important. Bane's over here, going in, trying to get into the mineral line, but Neuro sees this. He's surely going to be able to stop this, right? 2 Lings out for Neuro. He really has to not take damage. This one Bane won't kill anything. It just weakens the drones. As we see Ling Bane aggression occurring out here by the 3rd. And the red Lings of GameTime are chasing off the Lings of Neuro. But Neuro will flank back a little bit, think better of it, and leave again. So both players have a 3rd base, and they're kind of knife fighting back and forth, honestly. But at this point we see that Neuro is actually trying to tech into Roach. So once Neuro gets a few Roaches out, he'll actually be able to deal with this Ling Bane pretty well. Because Ling Bane, once you have a solid amount of Roaches, is pretty bad. Really the only turning point of this is upgrades. And the crux of the issue there is a lot of the time we see Zerg players, the Roach player, will get missile attack upgrades because that makes it where it will 2-shot a Ling. So the Roach will have to attack twice to kill a Ling, which is just massive. Neuro's fighting out here with Roaches. Now he has enough Roaches to be fine, Alternatively, he can morph the really weak one into Ravagers if his gas starts to float, or if he wants to just kind of refresh the Roaches. But this is a typical ZvZ where there's a lot of fighting, but at the end of the day they're pretty much even. But the real turning point here is the fact that Neuro is going for Roaches, and GameTime's Roach Warren is just now finishing. So Neuro is right at the front door. He's about to kick in the front door, really, of GameTime. He might just go for the natural and smash his head in, but I think the third base is too tempting here. And notice Neuro is getting an Evo chamber behind this. GameTime's Roaches are coming out. There's 3 of them, but notice they're going to come out here. Ooh, is Neuro going to retreat? GameTime might have caught a break, and this Roach will live. So GameTime is very far behind at this point. It's 60 supply, or 64 supply to 78. GameTime dipping down into the red there. GameTime is still on layer tech. There's no Evo chamber in sight. Neuro pumps forward 11 Roaches. Great job there. So 10 worker lead for Neuro. And he has the Roach lead as well. And GameTime's trying to secure the third and go for a big hidden Ling flood. Neuro is killing Overlords here, which is useful, because like I said, limiting vision is important. Very frequently we see a Zerg player will make like 4 Ravagers, and that way when he runs around with his main army he can just kill the Obies with Corrosive Bile. But Lings are going to try to run in here for GameTime, and GameTime's very far behind. He might try a 2 Baneling run by again. Neuro sees it. Ooh, the Banelings run away for a second, but they might actually get a hit off here, as they don't get very much. That was actually pretty disappointing for GameTime, as he's tried that maneuver twice, and it hasn't really worked either time. The thing about playing people who do moves like that, the hidden Baneling run by, players who do that move once are very likely to do it again, both stylistically and tech-wise. So you have to be careful of that if you're a newer Zerg player. Neuro is getting layer. GameTime's trying to be aggressive here. Notice Neuro had a lot of his forces split. GameTime's going to commit hard and run up into this third base, but Neuro has quite a few Roaches, but who has more, as GameTime has 22 at this point. Neuro has a huge defender's advantage though, because if we go to upgrades, GameTime does not have Roach speed, which is actually a much bigger deal when you're attacking. But GameTime will walk right over Neuro and stand on top of his third base, but 2 Spines come out. Spines do an insane amount of damage, but this is very important. Can GameTime breach the ramp? And no, he can't. So the reason that's so important is because GameTime really wanted to fight off of these Spines. And now Neuro, because of these Spines finishing in the nick of time, will be given the moment of respite he needs to defend. And look how slow these Roaches are going to come, and it looks like GameTime's actually just reinforcing with lots of Lings, because he knows how bad these slow Roaches are off of creep. If we go to units, Neuro has the Roach advantage now. These Banes are going to have to get phenomenal hits as the Banes come forward, and they're trying to go, and they don't get good hits at all. They do kill the Spine, which I guess is something, but remember, the Defender's advantage is fully kicked in. The fact that he has to run all the way off creep to get to Neuro's base means that GameTime is at a big disadvantage. Neuro just has to keep pumping Roaches and fight by his Spine. And at this point, he doesn't even have to deal with the Spine, and GameTime GG's. The fight by the Spine was kind of a, fight up here with the Spine type thing. But Neuro takes the game against GameTime, who had a good showing in Austin. He actually defeated Caliber in a very close game, who is an interesting figure, a Protoss player who I enjoy speaking to in real life, who I actually saw Cannon Rush, which is always fun to see on LAN. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more.